Now we will begin again, as we have before, with a small homily. It is reported that a man known to you as Saint Augustine was contemplating God, attempting to understand that perfect thought, trying to understand the vastness, the limitlessness of the being, so that he in turn would be able to teach others. During a rare period of contemplation along the beach, he happened upon a young child playing in the sand, digging a hole. The venerable man spoke to the child and asked him, "What are you doing?" And the child said, "Well, I'm digging a hole." "But to what purpose?" the child replied. "Well, I am going to take all of that water and empty it into my hole." St. Augustine smiled and said, "Well, that is impossible. That is an ocean. You can't place that ocean in that small hole." And the child looked up and said, "Neither can you truly understand the creative source." Well, it is true. We speak of truths, which are one's beliefs. For the most part, humanity understands them on a mental level, giving names to various principles. It gives names to learned individuals who have attempted to clarify those principles and those truths. Humanity also, at times, has gotten ridiculous with some of its interpretations of truths. That has been the problem, that humanity has sought to understand the creative source on that mental level. We have mentioned many times that this millennium concerns the blending of the consciousness of humanity, the superconscious, subconscious, and the conscious mind. That blending also means the mind and the heart. So in utilizing that which is before you, in order to live the higher quality of life that each of you desire for yourself, it is not enough to know the principles, the truths, the beliefs. Those you can read in a book, you can hear from the pulpit. It is not enough. If you desire to live that higher quality of life, which your presence here would indicate, you must take it a step further. You must feel. We have said time and time again that this millennium is so different from the previous one, because the time of the one leader has passed. Now, to some that may sound horrible, because they have no one authority to look to for the answers, but one must truly understand what it means. It means that there is no other authority than the voice of the creative source within your own heart, and that in order to attain that higher quality of life, one must feel the truths, the beliefs, live them constantly, and work with them constantly in one's life. Now it is also true that human nature is such that it constantly tests itself, and therefore it says, "Well, I lived it yesterday, but today I did not." And once again it is, my fault, my grievous fault. And it falls into an old pattern of guilt and recrimination. That's foolish. You are perfect thought, attempting to interpret that thought through a human body, a human consciousness. Each of you have entered into a life expression in order to learn a specific principle, and in the process of that learning, you explore all aspects or facets of that principle. Therefore, you are constantly achieving and falling short in your achievement, because that is the process that you desire to use in order to learn. But each time that you live those principles and those beliefs, you gain more knowledge, and each time you gain more knowledge, you come closer to your goal, your purpose in that life expression. In order to gain more and more, one needs to understand and see, as well as feel, those things that are of negative nature. If one says, "Well, I keep trying to live those principles, but I keep falling back," if one follows that line of thought, one can become quite depressed and say, "Well, there is no use. I am going to fall back all the time, and so I might as well give up those principles and live a life of dejection." That's your choice, if you wish, but that is also not realizing the capacity of your own being, and it is not respecting self, which is another lesson. Truths are those things, those beliefs that celebrate the beauty of the soul and the creative source. They never change. There may be thousands and thousands of books written explaining truths, and usually in the process becoming lost. But truth is truth. It does not fail. A very simple truth that we mentioned several weeks ago is called by many the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. What exactly does that mean? You must understand in your own heart your own purpose in life. That is very easy. Anyone can understand what his or her purpose is. They do not need a teacher or guru to tell them. If you're still perplexed, look at your own life. What are the things that typify your own life up to this point? What are the patterns in your life that keep repeating over and over and over again? What is the main idea that typifies those patterns? Love, jealousy, hate, envy, joy, happiness. What are the patterns? There is always one word, one idea, which typifies those patterns and tells you the purpose of this life expression for you. Let's say that you are to learn, for instance, all there is to know about love, or about fear, or about grief, or about happiness, or about joy or sorrow. So you find your purpose and you say, ah yes, well, all these patterns have this one common denominator. Well, if that is so, then how do you apply the golden rule? The golden rule may be, if applied within the context of whatever your purpose is, let us say that the purpose is sorrow, to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And if your purpose is sorrow, then everyone will agree to create an environment so that you can learn about that which is your purpose. Different idea concerning the golden rule, isn't it? You may, using that explanation, carry it a bit further and understand why, for instance, certain things keep repeating in your life. You say, well, the golden rule is all well and good, but those wonderful things don't happen in my life. People treat me terribly. They do all of these terrible things to me, and I am so innocent. I treat everyone wonderfully. Then what is the reason why these things keep occurring in your life? Understand what your purpose is. Once you understand that, and you apply this golden rule to your life, you understand further why certain things have been repeating themselves over and over as patterns. Then, and only then, will you feel that principle, will you feel and know what your purpose is. When you feel and know what your purpose is, it creates ecstasy in your being and great joy. You realize that all this time you were not, never have been, a victim of circumstance, that everyone and every situation in your life has contributed to your purpose, has aided you in every way possible. When that dawning occurs, when that realization happens in life, then you will also realize the wonder of the limitlessness of the creative source. You have free reign, free control. There is no omnipotent being pulling strings in your life from a cloud somewhere in the sky. That is a human concept created again out of necessity. The necessity to separate, once again, truth from fact and humanity from God. What are other beliefs? Do you believe in God? And if so, what is that? What are your beliefs? What are the truths in your life? Most human beings have a muddle of beliefs concerning God. They are not aware. To many, you may laugh, but to many that image of this omnipotent being in the sky, somewhere beyond the blue, is very real. That is their God. To others it may be a tree that is God. We have said often that the word God is very limiting. Now I will tell you a secret. You have heard the phrase, perhaps that God spelled backwards is dog. Now right away there may be some that say, blasphemer. You equate God to a dog. Well, on one hand, the dog is but another creature that is a thought within the mind of the creative source, but you must understand the origin of that concept. The origin of that concept began, dear friends, with us. In the philosophy and the theology begun by us, Some 5,000 years ago, we spoke of a dual deity, Ahura, Mazda, the god of light, and Ahriman, the prince of darkness, and that a bridge existed between the two kingdoms, light and dark, and that humanity could cross that bridge in any direction. Now, along with this, we gave a symbol someone to guard the bridge, and it is a guard for both sides. In other words, there had to be a balance between light and dark, positive and negative. The sentinel is the balance, the fulcrum, the focal point, just as the scales would be. That sentinel, dear friends, is a dog. Now perhaps you understand why I say that the word God is inappropriate. It is limiting because in truth, God is the sentinel that balances light and dark, but the creative source is the totality of light and dark without limit. A God has limitations. It balances, it maintains a certain harmony, and it has dimension, a beginning and an end. The creative source does not have those limitations. God is a human concept originating with us. We take responsibility, but the creative source is much, much more than that. So what we're saying tonight might alter your beliefs somewhat. We have given you a different concept concerning the creative source and God, as well as a different type of understanding when applying the golden rule within each of your own lives. Now with this, you can see why the guide in the form of the child told Saint Augustine that it was impossible for his human mind to fully understand the creative source, because the human mind in any one life expression understands only the facet of the creative source within the expanse of that life expression. Now things are about to change. As you enter into this new millennium, you become more and more aware of every aspect of your being, all of your life expressions, because time is simultaneous rather than linear. As you become aware of each aspect of your being, which is your soul, you bring to the conscious mind a clearer understanding, because each part, each facet of your being that lives simultaneously has a part of the knowledge concerning the creative source. The creative source is the sum of all knowledge, and of course knowledge never stops. What occurs here is that you gradually have a better concept of the creative source than ever before. You expand upon your truth, having greater knowledge as you explore each aspect of your being, and with each one you will come to understand the purpose in each aspect of your being. So if the purpose of this life is to know sorrow, perhaps another would be joy and happiness, grief, envy, whatever. And each time when you come to know each of these aspects, you constantly grow and expand. Each time you realize over again the limitlessness of the creative source. It is constantly moving outward, constantly expanding. You may say, well, if that is the case, then it is an impossibility to ever truly know the creative source. Yes, that is true. Until you gain full knowledge of your oneness with the creative source, so the knowledge constantly expands. It doubles upon itself constantly. There is another story, you know, the story concerning the penny, and how each day for 30 days the amount is doubled. A wise person will say, yes, I will take that proposition over a regular salary, because by the end of 30 days you are a millionaire several times over. Hard to believe, but it is true. It starts with one small thought, and when you understand that small thought, you allow it to double upon itself, each day gaining for yourself, each day expanding to a greater extent. Now, along with this, we mentioned momentarily, long ago, the possibility of falling back into old habits and old patterns. Well, remember, you understand the truths mentally, and then you begin to understand them emotionally in your own heart. You apply the principles to the purpose in your life, and understanding that, you are then able to cement the connection between the mind and the heart. With that new energy, expand your own learning, always doubling upon itself, removing boundaries of your knowledge, constantly, not merely daily, but every moment you double your knowledge. So you say, well, I have certain beliefs. I believe in the universal laws, total non-judgmental, love of self and all others, total acceptance of every aspect of being of self and all others. Well, those are the two universal laws. That is truth. Ask yourself, is that a truth of your own mind, or is it a truth of your heart, or is it a truth of the combining of the mind and heart? You see, if it is a truth only on the level of the mind, then you will constantly fall back into old patterns and enjoy your sense of guilt, like someone who is dieting and sneaks chocolate on the side, because like that, it is a habit. If you know it only mentally and do not feel it in your heart, you will constantly sabotage yourself, or you might be rather exclusive in your beliefs. Let us say you believe those two universal laws. You say, yes, I believe in total, non-judgmental love of self and all others, except for that person down the block. There is no way that I can love that individual. I accept all aspects of self and all others, except that individual who is running the schools. You see, you become exclusive. There you can also see how certain political beliefs have gained a foothold, how prejudice works, because you are being prejudicial. You are excluding. You are separating yourself from others. The more you separate yourself either from yourself or from others, the longer it is going to take you to understand the oneness of the creative source. Most people miss the point of total non-judgmental love of self and all others. What are you really stating in that belief? That you love your soul and the souls of all other beings without judgment, because in being able to love your soul and all other souls, you begin to understand the concept or truth of love that is the creative source. As a human being with a purpose in a life expression, you may also have preference, and this is what escapes many. You do not have to love the actions of another. You must, however, know and understand how the actions of another influence your life and your beliefs, and acting upon those beliefs, you apply the first lesson that we gave, which was honesty. If you feel that the person down the street is, through their actions, harming you and others, let us say there are actions of deceit, then you must apply that first lesson. You must state what you feel, honestly. How do you do that without accusation? Very simply. You state to the person, when I am with you, I feel dis-ease. You are entitled to what you feel. No one has the right to take away what you feel, but you do not place expectation on the other individual to change their ways. That's the pitfall. If you think that by stating what you feel when you are in their presence, a deception, and you anticipate and expect that by stating that the person will suddenly become Joan of Arc, you are going to be sadly disappointed. That is your expectation. That is how you sabotage yourself. Now, whatever you believe cannot hinge itself on the actions of another. You must take responsibility for all your beliefs and your own actions only. By doing so, then and only then are you the example to others, who may choose of their own free will to follow your example. So you must understand that all truth must not only be dissected cerebrally, but must be felt in the heart. It must become an extension of your body. It must become an etheric body beyond you. You must feel what you believe based upon those two universal laws, total non-judgmental love of self and all others, and total acceptance of self and all others. Know it, feel it, live it. You still have the right to disagree with the actions of another. If that were not true, then you would be condoning many of the things that are against society, and you cannot condone those things. It is lack of understanding, which again comes back to the first part of our conversation, that as you grow, you expand your knowledge, and it doubles upon itself each time. Begin to look at those things that you call truths in your own life, your beliefs. Think of what we did with the Golden Rule, and think how you are taking your truths and your beliefs and applying them in your life through your own feelings. If you take the time to do that, you will surprise yourself, because most human beings will state their beliefs, and yet it is not what they feel. How many of you know prelates and preachers who say that they love humanity and God, again using the word advisedly, and then in the next breath condemn all manner of people, and not only condemn them in the sense of condemning them within the congregation, but taking it a step further and condemning them to the fires of hell? Are they living their beliefs? Perhaps. Perhaps their belief is that duality. Perhaps their belief is that of real hatred, and they are but applying their golden rule. Look very carefully at those who, at the drop of a hat, will tell you their beliefs and their truths. Question first yourself, and then question them. What are you doing? You are becoming more conscious, more aware. You become that which you are, a part of omnipotence, unending knowledge. That's what this millennium is about. By beginning to recognize all of these things, this knowledge, you bring to this place of existence Christ consciousness. You alter the face of life. You alter the face of this globe. You remove war, famine, and pollution overnight. Remember, nothing is impossible. It truly is not. You have seen this time and time again in your own life. Rejoice that you are who you are. Rejoice that you are doubling your knowledge at all times. Rejoice that you are blending heart and mind. Rejoice that you are part of a beginning and understanding that the world has never known. Even as we speak, the illusion of futility is being dispelled. Think in your own life, as we have said, how many individuals have convicted themselves from their own mouths concerning what they truly believe. That is what is happening. Some may say that they believe in the brotherhood of humanity, but they will convict themselves from their own mouths as to their real beliefs. You will see it in their lives. Therefore it behooves each of you to understand what is the real truth within your life, your real belief as it pertains to your purpose. When you understand that, then you have another tool to alter all of the patterns that have allowed you to feel victimized. You begin to remove all of those things that have sabotaged your life. You begin to see life as it truly is. A wondrous state of being, knowing that everything you do is a reflection from which you will learn the greater expanse of your own being. Truth is truth. It is only humanity that has attempted to interpret it and bend it to its own will. And that is all right. Now is a time for humanity to come to a greater understanding, to bring life and balance and harmony to light. It exists on the level of the soul at all times. It is only on the level of the human consciousness that it seems not to exist. You will gradually expand within this millennium, gathering all of the aspects of being within all expressions of life, bringing them together, expanding your knowledge and understanding truth. That is a wonderful proposition, and through that, humanity will finally be able to accept its birthright, that each of you are gods of balance, positive and negative, that each of you are the guardian, creating harmony and justice in your life, and by doing so, you aid in giving to yourself the greater knowledge of the oneness that is the creative source, without an end. Well, we feel that we have given you a great deal to think about. We attempted to explain what is truth and what is belief, and how you can apply those principles in your own life. We have 3 other lessons, and each will build upon the previous one, so that hopefully by the end you will truly understand this formula that we have given forth, so that you may bring to this life expression all that you truly are, and still be able to maintain your existence on this plane, because there's a trick to that too. If you know everything about who you are, then perhaps there's no need to remain on this plane of existence, so you simply shimmer and disappear. But that is another whole basket of eggs. You see, speaking of truth, This is also leading to our next lesson, which is respect. As you know, there is very little that we do that is not thought out. To others it might be manipulation, but we prefer not to use that word in this context. But this lesson has been on truth. You are coming to a period of time that is a celebration. It is called the Feast of the Resurrection. You have the tools. Let it truly be your Feast of Resurrection. Let it truly be the recognition of the life that is the creative source within your own being, that through that knowledge there is no ending, no death. Let this be the resurrection of your wholeness and the limitlessness of your being recognized in this millennium. Give to yourself on this feast the joy, the happiness, and the love to which each of you are so dearly entitled. Set aside all of your limitations, and at least for one day, enjoy your godness.